Man, for this video, I got quite a bit to talk about, especially when it comes to alligators in this video. So if you guys are not really sure what the heck I'm talking about here, let me just take it right with you guys here. So on June 28th, 2026, 31-year-old Brittany Clark was fatally attacked by an alligator while swimming in the, however you say that name in the river, the Econlockhatchee River. Is that how you guys say it? I'm not familiar with some of the names. It was at the Little Big Econ State Forest in Seminole County, Florida. The unprovoked attack severed her arm. Despite desperate rescue attempts by her boyfriend and first responders, she died on the way to the hospital. So this is one of those really rare cases, you guys, that you don't hear very often when it comes to alligator attacks. An attack that's proven fatal. And this is, the odds of something like this happening are extremely low, and especially much lower than somebody being struck by lightning. But if that's not kind of more bizarre enough, there's actually been a few other recent alligator attacks that have happened in Florida just literally in the last couple of weeks. Apparently one of them was another boy, a young boy who actually had just lost his arm as well to another alligator attack, but he survived. Luckily, he's making a full recovery. But unfortunately for this 31-year-old woman named Brittany, she was not as lucky. Before I get any further into more of the discussion of this topic, everybody, I just want to, share my condolences to Brittany's family, saying that this is a very unfortunate, horrible tragedy that happened. That really shouldn't happen to anybody. It shouldn't. And unfortunately it did. It did happen. Now, believe it or not, especially in the state of Florida here, alligator attacks are not unheard of. But fatal attacks are rare still. In a case like this, most alligator attacks have a rational explanation of reason why. Most of them are either from an alligator that was startled, or someone has been feeding one in their backyard and that has caused the alligator to lose its natural fear of instinct to humans, or somebody was potentially near a group of young hatchlings and mama gator retaliated to protect her young. But in this case in particular, this was an unprovoked attack, and most likely this was because of the alligator's more aggressive approach than normal. And now, since, believe it or not, from April to June, alligator breeding season occurs in the state of Florida. And since this was towards the end of June, breeding season was probably coming towards to an end. Still, I think some of the gators in the area were still looking for a last-minute chance to try to get a mate in the area. That two alligators, believe it or not, even after this fatal attack, were killed because they needed to get a DNA match of the bite marks on Brittany's body. And eventually, after two large alligators were humanely euthanized, they managed to get a match on one of those two large gators. Now, both of these gators, by the way, were not like 7 to 8 feet long. Both of these gators that were humanely euthanized were lengths of 12 to 13 feet long. So these are some big, bold gators right here. And those gators are known for being pretty territorial in certain areas, on certain bodies of water, whether it's on a lake or on a river. Now, the story of how this tragedy unfolded was when Brittany and her boyfriend, I forgot his name, they actually were on a hiking trail going for a hike, and apparently Brittany got pretty hot out there after walking after a certain time, and she wanted to cool off in the river. I believe, if I recall, I thought I saw in a report that there were posted signs in many areas along this river that said no swimming because there was alligators in the area. Now, on one side, yes, this tragedy was horrible, but could have also been avoided? Absolutely. Now, Brittany is not a full resident in Florida. Originally, she is actually from California, so really she's not too familiar with the alligators there, but when it comes to, wildlife in a different state that you're not familiar with, it's probably a good idea to definitely ask locals or, state officials, for some advice to what to be aware of when you go out, like on a hiking trail in an area you've never hiked before. Because you never know what you're going to run into out there. You could run into an alligator or a venomous snake or another dangerous animal out there that could kill you. Now, had Brittany not actually, decided to stop and cool off in the river at all, she probably would still be alive today. Unfortunately, her choices costed her life, sadly. And listen, I'm not saying she's completely at fault here. You know, because the alligator, it did what it does. It's an apex predator, and it did nothing wrong. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, this alligator had to pay the price, all because, you know, it did what its natural instincts are. It's to hunt and survive. I was pretty surprised by some people's reactions on the social media world of people like saying like, wow, like literally wildlife officials need to do like a better job, you know, monitoring these killing machines, yada yada yada. Well, first of all, alligators in general tend to avoid humans. That is a statistic fact. I've encountered wild alligators myself in the state of Florida before. Not like not just little like 2 to 3 foot gators. I'm talking about some gators that have ranged from like 5 to 8 feet long. And those gators, literally, whenever I like attempt to approach them, they either like try to, like if they're in the water, they tend to usually stay away from me. And I don't intend to go up and try to provoke them and see how they would react, because I'm not some idiot that's gonna put my life on the line like that. So obviously, Brittany had no intentions of trying to like F around and find out. She had no intentions of that. But like I said, did the alligator deserve to be killed because, you know, it was in its habitat, just, you know, doing what it does? Personally, I don't think so. But unfortunately it did. Now, if anybody's ever like gone fishing or kayaking at any of the waterways in the state of Florida, I guarantee you have seen posted signs on the water's edge that tell you either no swimming, you know, or like no swimming because there's probably alligators in the area. There's a good chance that if there's a waterhole, whether it's a pond, a river, a lake, or a storm drain nearby, there is a good chance there's probably an alligator in the area. Because that's what alligators live in. They live in water. That's where they live. Really, it's sad that there's always a small percentage of people that, you know, still like to take a risk. And that's just not right. Now, obviously, yes, you hear a couple stories, you know, whether it's in Florida, Texas, or Louisiana, wherever, which state it is, you hear of, like, a dog owner tragically losing their pet dog to an alligator. And of course, if you guys ever seen that surveillance video of that old lady walking her little like dog right near a community pond, and there's this 6-7 foot alligator that swims up and approaches her little dog near the bank and grabs the dog and pulls it in the water. And literally, people were kind of like divided about it. Personally, to me, I had to take the side of the alligator on this, because this lady clearly should not have had her dog that close to the water. There's posted signs that say that alligators may be in the area and you're walking your dog in that area. You should probably process that in your head and say, okay, not gonna take my dog near the water like that, because that's putting my dog's life literally on the line there. And a little dog like that for a 7-8 foot alligator is a much more easy target than a full grown adult, 100%. There is a big issue here that's been going on for some time in the state of Florida, and then really even with, you know, wildlife conservation efforts that have tried to slow down all these HOAs and you know, land developers. You guys kind of know where I'm going with this. Like literally for the last 20-25 years, there has been an increase in land development and in HOAs and homeowner associations of demolishing, you know, swamplands and some wetlands, turning them into like these residential condos, or, you know, these massive expensive like major like celebrity houses. And this is literally just absolutely ridiculous, because you guys, a lot of these guys don't realize that an alligator that has spent many years living in that area in the marsh, it's not going to leave that area. What I'm trying to say is, everybody, is that the population in the state of Florida just last year had just hit 23 million people statewide. That's more than the population of Manhattan. And the alligator population currently, as of right now, in the statewide in Florida is about 2 million, which is a lot of gators, not going to deny it. Daily average of people moving to Florida is a little over 1,000 people a day. That's just crazy. That's crazy that many people move down to Florida every single day. Literally every single day, when that many people are moving down to Florida, very little by little, these amazing habitats that have been here literally for centuries are very slowly being chipped away by these land developers to make more houses, more condos. With those land developers doing that, that's just going to increase, you know, conflict between man and nature, especially with alligators. I feel like a lot of people are failing, as in general, especially with social media, they're failing to process this. And that's a big deal, you guys, because I know a lot of people, there's some people out there that say they hate these creatures or don't like them, but at the same time, they're still a wild animal. They were here first way before we were ever moved in, and they have as much right to live as much as we do. And they deserve to have as much respect as well, because literally 9 times out of 10 alligators tend to avoid people. Whether it's at these golf courses or at these amusement parks, or if it's like in these community resorts, alligators will usually stay away from people because they see us as something bigger than them, and they want nothing to do with us, period. Now, if we were like something smaller, like a small water bird or a little dog, okay, that would be a lot different. Now, listen, statistically speaking, and I'm gonna be and this is the truth here, you guys, this is not going to be the last, this won't be, the last time we'll see a brief trend of alligator attacks in the US. It happens almost every couple of years, whether it's in, like I said, Florida or Louisiana, Georgia, Texas. It happens, everyone, but a vast majority of those alligator attacks, you guys, are not fatal. And literally since 1948, in the state of Florida alone, there's been only 32 fatal alligator attacks. That's right, 32. That is not a lot, you guys. Literally since 1948, that's not a lot. There's more people in the state of Florida alone that are struck and killed by lightning than killed by alligators, literally every single year. And personally, what would I rather deal with, an alligator or lightning? I'll probably take the alligator, because an alligator you can get away from pretty easy, and it's kind of predictable. Whereas lightning can happen at any moment. You don't know where it's going to strike, or if, where the next bolt is going to hit. But at the end of the day, after what happened, you guys, on June 28th, I feel like people need to understand, killing an animal that has these survival instincts for tens of millions of years, it's not going to bring Brittany back. It's not going to bring her back. And what good does that do for, the environment? Like I said, a tragedy like that, again, it could have been avoided. Like, did she have any bottle of water? I don't know. I really don't know. But to Brittany's boyfriend, I am sorry for your loss, to the woman that you loved. I mean, I just hope you can take this into consideration, that people should be completely aware of their surroundings, wherever kind of body of water there is in Florida. I mean, I hope you can spread the word about that. Sometimes we as a society, when it comes to man and nature, sometimes people do cross a line where they shouldn't cross. And unfortunately, I think we've kind of been seeing an uptick in that on social media in the last few years, because some people online that I've seen a few times have literally will do it intentionally, which is dumb. But Brittany had no intentions of doing that. A lot of people should take in consideration that if you're ever near a body of water, whether, like I said, if it's a river, a canal, or a lake, a pond, you should probably consider that there probably is a gator in there regardless. Even if you don't see any posted signs close by, it's always a good idea to still probably take consideration into that and not try and step foot in that water. Alright, everyone, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and just wrap this video up here. I mean, again, yes, a complete tragedy, accidental tragedy that happened. I mean, you gotta always be careful out there in nature, everybody. Even if you kind of think like, oh, there's nothing's bad's gonna happen to me out here, you probably don't want to say that out loud, because you never know what is out there. Please, like I said, consider what I just said, you guys, a few moments ago. And I'm gonna go ahead and let you all go, and I will see you guys in the next video.